Product launch stages. The first one is a market research. With proper market research, you will be able to identify your target audience or your competitors. This way, you will decrease the chances of product failure. You have to identify your marketing position. It's important to understand how your average customer perceives the competing products or the competing brands in the marketplace. A great tool for this is the perceptual map. It helps you understand how your customer ranks you in terms of characteristics and in comparison to your competitors. You have to segment your target audience. One of the important product launch steps is target the audience research. How successful your product launch depends on how many people you will influence. Let's take a look at this market segmentation graph. Here you have a four division segments. First, we're going to go with the demographics, geographics, psychographics, and behavioral. On the demographics portion, we're talking about marital status, age, income, for example. On the geographic portion, we are trying to segment your market through national, international, even regional, local. On the psychographics, we are trying to divide your audience into the activities they do, their personality, their values, their attitudes. We are trying to divide the people you're trying to influence into characteristic sections. Behavioral, you have to define their patterns, their usage rates, their benefits. What this graph is telling you is that you're trying to divide the people you can influence into sections. Okay, you're trying to profile this persona, this customer, so you can get to know the customer better. Let's take a look on how to create a customer persona. Look at the picture. You're trying to identify who this person is, her preferences, aspirations, reading, social media habits, factors in her purchase decisions, what are the key influencers, the keywords, the phrases to reach this person, what language does this person use, the pain points or also the support points, the daily routines. That's what you're trying to do. When we're talking about market research, you are defining the profile of the person you're trying to reach. You need to know everything about that person. You go the extra step to create customer personas pertaining to each market segment you have identified. These will come in handy when you're creating your promotional and marketing strategies, as well as you would want to personalize the content you create to target each segment. It is very important, for example, if you ask any person at home, what type of programs are being broadcasted in national television at 10 a.m. Monday through Friday? Most of the people will answer those are soap operas. Why? Because of the target market that is watching television at that time of the day. Okay? Now let's take a look on how to create a customer persona. The step number one is to research your target audience. You can do this via phone calls, email surveys, or in person interviews as well. The step number two would be to keep an eye out for important details such as demographics, age, behaviors, characteristics, challenges, goals, everything we saw on the picture I put there. The step number 3 to define your customer persona would be to create separate user personas for each segment you have identified. If you're going to create a new product, probably you're going to target more than one person. And then you have to make divisions on what this person age is, characteristics, social demographics, and you will identify several different segments. For example, this persona profile, let's take a look at this person. Okay, you have to put their name, their age, who is she, the general explanation of the person, the career history, net earning or net worth, how much money this person makes, how to reach the person, the places, conference, meetings she attends, specialties of the personality. How did she find us? Did anyone refer us to her? At which point in her buyer journey does she visit the website? Is there any other way that we could directly contact her? You might think this information is a little bit harassing or stalking the customer, but trust me, you are all customers and you are all under profiles. You are all under customer persona profiles already. The support points or the pain points, the things she care about, the things she cares about, her support circle, the process she has to go through to make the decision, negotiations she might be involved in order to make the purchase decision. What does she want to know? Latest projects, for example, expertise, testimonials, awards, press releases, trial period, etc. What she doesn't want? Unnecessary changes, delays of support, or terrible bugs. Last but not least, why does she buy from us? Because of the price, the expertise, or is it the after service? Is it the features of our product? You have to make, let's say, like a file of each person you're going to sell. That is going the extra mile. Now, if we continue, we have to see what is your value proposition. When you're going to launch a product, you have to think on the added value. What makes your product different from the rest? Have you, now that you have a thorough knowledge of your competition, how you can rank better than them? Your target audience and their wants and needs, it's time to combine them and create an effective value proposition. How to create a value proposition? The step number 1 would be to identify the benefits your product offers and know for a fact how they can help your customers. You need to know what is your difference. That is the added value, the value proposition. That is very important when creating something new. You have to understand you need to be different from the rest. Otherwise, what would make you think people would go to purchase your product than the rest of the competitors that might be exactly the same? The step number 2 would be to identify how your product is different from that of your opponent, of your competitors. Does it have unique features? Is it the price? Perhaps. What is your difference? Step number 3, what problems can your product or service solve? Your unique value proposition should show how your product can help solve these problems faced by your customers. The step number 4 of a value proposition says, using a value proposition canvas like the one below, you can neatly organize all this data for a quick overview. It'll help you combine these 3 elements and create a catchy, unique value proposition. We're going to take a look at it a little bit forward. Create a product development roadmap. From development to launch of the product, it takes a lot of work. proper guidance and a streamlined process is necessary to keep everyone on track. This is where the product roadmap comes into play. The product roadmap gives a quick overview of all the aspects of the product development, such as its features, timeline, resources. It also helps stakeholder gain insight into how the product will develop in the months to come and track progress. How to create a product roadmap? First, you have to use a mind map. You can break down complicated processes that you track in your roadmap to individual steps. This will make it easier for you to identify the tasks and allocate time. Let's take a look at this. You're trying to make a product launch. We are going to have three small divisions. This is a mind map. We're trying to make a roadmap and trying to define not only the processes, but also the people in charge who are responsible for all these processes we have to develop. Okay, this is the first portion. Let's talk about the application of the product. You're going to define what are the features of your product, what are the functions, what do they do, what is this for? We are going to also talk about the press or communication or publicity. We're going to talk about is it a press release? We're going to do some blog reviews. We going to use social media? And if so, which type of social media? Are we going to pay for that? Or are we going to do it in the house? Now let's take a look at the website. As hard as it seems, is one of the most important processes here. The website, we have to go through the process of design, testing, and also copying. Sometimes you have some information from previous brochures or technical details that were made by the engineers. You have to copy them and bring them into your website. When you're designing, you can make a mock-up and Photoshop. Mock-up is when you try and make it like a test and trial release. You're trying to prove if it works. So you have a mock-up and Photoshop, of course, in the pictures that you're going to put into your website. You're doing the testing, so you have some landing pages. You also make some more tests and mock-ups. And you are going to copy the information from drafts, brochures, technical information, whatever specification the engineers give you, for example, and you're going to make some drafts. Okay. This is an example of a product map. Okay. These are the steps we go through. Then we have to assign a sensible time frame for your initiatives. Instead of sticking to hard deadlines or specific dates, you can plot initiatives at a quarterly or a monthly level. The important thing here is you have to be realistic. You cannot push your team into impossible deadlines or they'll do not their best. They will give you a tacky product and you will not get fine results. Now, you have to alter your product roadmap to your audience. The detailed roadmap you show to your development team might not resonate with your investors. Tailor the product roadmap to show what the development means to each of them, okay? But you also have to adjust to your audience. For example, this is a project picture that shows how are all the process is going to happen in time. So in this upper hand side of the screen, you have the months and of course the years. And on the left side, you have the modules or the steps or let's say the segments. So it is a way to try and put into calendar everything you have to do. So let's look at Module B, for example. Module B has Feature 4, Feature 5, and Feature 6. But in this case, in this particular module, not necessarily 5 has to be done before 6. Look, from this month, in September 2019 to almost the end of November 2019, Feature 6 has started, but look, in the middle of October, Feature 6 could have, Feature 4 here. Feature 6 could start at the beginning of October. It doesn't necessarily have to wait for Feature 5 but probably this number 5 required any other to be finished before they start. So this is a way to put into calendars how you have to organize all your tasks and every single person involved in the time and the modules, but you also have to be realistic with the dates you put in here. This is a very useful software. This is taken from an example on how Microsoft Project works. You can define responsible people here and define the time. So that way, for example, if we were in November at this time, and these were 2020, you could have taken a look inside and see, okay, this is phase one working. It's the end of feature one, the beginning of feature two. Feature six is right in the middle. We have not yet started on feature Y, etc. You can also see it's a map, okay? It's a map in time and in modules as well. The step number 4, we talk about using a value proposition canvas like the one we just saw. You can neatly organize all this data for a quick overview. It'll help you combine these 3 elements, and create a catchy, unique value proposition. Okay? You have to keep your team accountable. You need to set responsible people for each of the processes. Otherwise, they will lose control. It's important to make sure that everyone involved in the product development and product launch projects has a well-defined goal. If they are unaware of the tasks assigned to them or the goal they are supposed to accomplish, your product roadmap could be in vain. How to create a product roadmap. Step 1. Using a mind map, you can break down complicated processes that you track in your roadmap to individual steps. This will make it easier for you to identify the tasks and allocate time. You have to map out the workflow for reference. A process map or a flowchart outlining the process steps involved in the product launch project can be a useful source of reference for everyone involved. Anyone who is confused about the next phase or the next step of the process can quickly refer to the workflow flowchart. It can also help you with creating the product roadmap. Assign tasks to each individual. If there's a well-defined process, it won't create space for inefficiencies or complications. It's important to clarify each stage of the process and the individuals responsible for each task. This will create a better understanding. The following diagram highlights the product development stages and the key players involved. It helps clarify the tasks each individual is accountable for. So here you can take a look at some examples of the processes and the people involved, okay? This is just an example of an elaborate stages that you have to do and the players involved in this. So, for example, take a look at the introduction and concept. Okay, who were involved? The product owner. When it says UX is just one of the offices. Engineering, community liaison, stakeholders, design research, data science. These are the players, and this is the stage. Okay, discovery and design, development, prototype and review, the evaluation. Here you have quality assurance, for example, QA, product launch, the evaluation. This evaluation goes after. You may say, why is it twice? You have to evaluate before sending it into the market and after. You need to know what is it you thought was going to happen, what actually happened. And the maturing and support. And you see all the players involved in these processes. And of course, these are departments. So most likely there are 100 people inside of each of these squares handling the process in which you have have to also make diagrams for them to know what is it the role they have to into this process. Okay. Now, when we are talking about plan your product launch, okay, you have to plan the product launch. You cannot just launch it just like that. You have to plan it. So, from learning your target audience and your competitors to selecting the correct channels to promote your product. The product launch phase includes a lot of tasks and it takes a lot of planning. Here's how to simplify it. You have to outline your product launch plan. As you brainstorm with your team, you might get flooded with many ideas, but you can't go ahead with all of them. This is why you need to filter all ideas and create a plan that suits well with your target audience and market. Okay, now this is also large, but we're going to zoom it in so you can take a look at it. If this is your promotional campaign, so you see there are 5 main goals. You have to evaluate the campaign. You have to set up a time frame, outline the objectives, identify the target market you're going to shoot this campaign to, and what is the message you want to transmit. Let's take a look at the message first. Oh, and the budget, very important. How are you going to pay for this? The message, is it to create awareness? Is it clear? Is it unambiguous? You have to define this and know for sure and make people in charge of this. You have to assign people in charge of what is the message with these 2 divisions. The budget, decide on promotional media linked to expected returns. Okay, you invest some amount of money into the campaign, the publicity campaign, expecting to sell. So you expect that money to return into the company. Okay. When you are identifying the target market, you relate to a market segment, and we have already talked about this in some previous slides. The gender, age, occupation, leisure activities, what is it they do? What is their lifestyle? You have to define that. Customer. When you outline the objectives, we're talking about objectives should relate to SMART targets. SMART goes for this, SMART, SMART targets. And they're well known all around the world as the objectives have to be specific, measurable, achievable. It's a typo here. Realistic and time related. Okay? When you hear the word SMART targets, it means this. Your objectives must be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time related. Now, when you evaluate your campaign, it's for future reference and assess if objectives are met. Okay, and remember there are 2 evaluations before you launch it and after. And the time frame. What is the duration of this campaign and what time of the year? These may look very simple, but it is not. Now you have to create a schedule. Having a product launch schedule will help you stay on track. Prior to creating your schedule, you need to set a launch date. Once it's known, you can create a timeline and a plan, everything that needs to be done for a successful product launch. Along with the launch date, it's important to allocate time for your pre-launch promotions as well. Use the product launch timeline below to plan your product launch. Okay, let's take a look at this graph. We start when we're getting close to the launch. Okay, here. 6 months before the launching. Okay, 2020 product launch roadmap. 6 months before the day. You position the product, create customer profiles. Remember the stocking process where you define everything from the person. You finalize production and launch dates. Another example for 5 months before, your prep marketing team discuss the strategy. They prepare the launch plan. The prep marketing team discuss the strategy and prepare the launch plan. 4 months to the day, There's a beta test. When we're talking about beta test, it's like a release before the official date. Like when in Las Vegas they have to open a new casino and they have the opening and the pre-opening. It's like a test. It's a beta. And you start working on first time experience, find promoters, affiliates, sponsors 3 months before, get feedback from beta users. Okay, because you already made like a preview, so you already have a feedback from them. You analyze better results and you start working on the final product changes. 2 months to the D Day, you announce the launch, do the final bug fixes. When it says bug fixes, it's you fix whatever problem came out on the first launch. Okay. 1 month before, you set up main website, start social media announcements, get customer rich links. 3 weeks before, you launch the website, contact affiliates, plan the launch event. 2 weeks before, you research page traffic, check all the links, make sure they're all working, keep sharing on social media. 1 week to the day, you update all channels, social media, website. You keep sharing on email lists. Recheck all products stuff and also the stock that you have available enough for the sales. The launch week, do the big event. Keep sharing on social media and email lists. And the after launch, you celebrate, you follow up the feedback, which is very important, and you create a plan to improve the product. Remember, there is an evaluation after the launch, so you identify what's next, okay? And that's it. That is the product launch stages for you to take a quick look on how it all works. Thank you.